The war-torn planet of Krylos was a desolate wasteland, its surface scarred by centuries of conflict between the human colonists and the native Krylosians. The air was thick with the acrid smell of burning fuel and the distant echoes of artillery fire. The sky, perpetually overcast, glowed an eerie orange from the constant bombardment. Amidst the chaos, a lone figure trudged through the rubble, his tattered cloak fluttering in the wind. His name was Yerrick, a scavenger by trade and a survivor by necessity. He had no allegiance to either side of the war. His only loyalty was to his own survival. Yerrick had learned to navigate the treacherous landscape of Krylos, scavenging for food, supplies, and anything else that could keep him alive for another day. He was a man of few words, hardened by years of hardship and loss. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows across the barren landscape, Yerrick stumbled upon a sight that stopped him in his tracks. Lying amidst the rubble was a figure clad in the distinctive armor of a Krylosian warrior. The armor was battered and scorched, and the warrior's helmet had been cracked open, revealing a face that was unmistakably human. Yerrick hesitated. Helping a Krylosian warrior, even a wounded one, was a risk he couldn't afford to take. But something about the figure's vulnerability tugged at his conscience. He knelt beside the warrior and carefully removed the damaged helmet, revealing the face of a young woman. Her skin was pale, her breathing shallow, and her eyes closed as if in a deep sleep. "Human," Yerrick muttered under his breath. "What are you doing in Krylosian armor?" He didn't have time to ponder the question. The girl's condition was dire, and she needed help. Yerrick slung her over his shoulder and carried her to his makeshift shelter, a hidden bunker buried beneath the ruins of an old factory. He laid her down on a cot and set to work tending to her wounds. The girl's injuries were severe. She had a deep gash on her side, and her left arm was badly burned. Yerrick cleaned the wounds as best he could, using the limited medical supplies he had scavenged. He then prepared a small meal of rations, knowing that she would need her strength to recover. As he fed her spoonfuls of the bland but nourishing food, the girl's eyes fluttered open. She stared at him with a mixture of confusion and suspicion. "Oh, who are you?" she whispered, her voice weak but laced with defiance. "Yerrick," he replied simply. "I found you out there. You're lucky to be alive." The girl's eyes narrowed. "Why did you help me? You're not Krylosian." Yerrick shrugged. "Doesn't matter what side you're on. You needed help, and I had the means to give it." The girl studied him for a moment before nodding slightly. "Thank you," she said softly. "My name is Lyra." Yerrick nodded in acknowledgement. "Rest now. You're safe here." Over the next few days, Lyra's strength gradually returned. She and Yerrick spoke little, but a quiet understanding developed between them. Yerrick learned that Lyra was a human soldier who had been captured by the Krylosians and forced to fight in their army. She had managed to escape during a skirmish, but not before sustaining serious injuries. Lyra, in turn, learned that Yerrick had lost everything in the war: his family, his home, his hope for a better future. He had become a drifter, surviving day by day with no thought for the morrow. One evening, as they sat by the dim light of a flickering fire, Lyra broke the silence. "Yerrick, why do you keep going? What drives you to survive in this hellish place?" Yerrick stared into the flames, his expression unreadable. "I don't know," he admitted. "Maybe it's just habit. Or maybe I'm waiting for something worth living for." Lyra reached out and placed a hand on his arm. "You saved my life. That's worth something, isn't it?" Yerrick looked at her, surprised by the warmth in her touch. For the first time in years, he felt a glimmer of something he had thought long dead: hope. As the days turned into weeks, Yerrick and Lyra grew closer. They shared stories of their pasts, their dreams, and their fears. Lyra spoke of a world where humans and Cryologians could live in peace, a world where the scars of war could finally heal. Yarrick listened, captivated by her vision of a better future. One day, Lyra announced that she was strong enough to leave. "I need to find my unit," she said. "They'll be looking for me." Yarrick felt a pang of sadness at the thought of her leaving, but he nodded. "I understand. You have a duty to your people." Lyra hesitated, then took his hand. "Come with me, Yarrick. You don't have to do this alone anymore. Together, we can make a difference." Yarrick looked into her eyes and saw the sincerity in her words. For the first time in his life, he felt a sense of purpose. "All right," he said, "I'll come with you." The journey to Lyra's unit was fraught with danger. They had to navigate through enemy territory, avoiding patrols and skirmishes. But together, they faced every challenge with courage and determination. Along the way, their bond grew stronger, and they began to realize that their connection was more than just friendship. When they finally reached Lyra's unit, they were greeted with a mixture of relief and suspicion. Lyra's commanding officer, a grizzled veteran named Captain Voss, was wary of Jarrick's presence. "Who is this man, Lyra?" he demanded. "Can he be trusted?" Lyra stood tall, her voice firm. "Yarrick saved my life, Captain. He's proven his loyalty time and time again. I trust him with my life." Captain Voss studied Yarrick for a moment before nodding. "Very well. If Lyra vouches for you, that's good enough for me. Welcome to the Resistance, Yarrick." Yarrick and Lyra fought side by side in the Resistance, their love for each other growing stronger with each passing day. They became a symbol of hope for their fellow soldiers, a reminder that even in the darkest of times, love and compassion could prevail. As the war raged on, Yarrick and Lyra's efforts began to make a difference. They forged alliances with sympathetic Cryologians, uniting humans and natives in a common cause. Slowly but surely, the tide of the war began to turn. One fateful day, as they led a daring raid on a Cryologian stronghold, Yarrick and Lyra found themselves face to face with the enemy's leader, a ruthless warlord known as General Crow. The battle was fierce, and it seemed as though all was lost. But Yarrick and Lyra fought with everything they had, their love for each other giving them the strength to persevere. In the end, they emerged victorious. General Crow was defeated, and the Cryologian forces were thrown into disarray. The war was far from over, but for the first time, there was hope for peace. As the dust settled, Yarrick and Lyra stood together, their hands clasped tightly. They had faced the horrors of war and emerged stronger for it. They had found love in the most unlikely of places, and they knew that together, they could face whatever challenges lay ahead. In the years that followed, Yarrick and Lyra worked tirelessly to rebuild their shattered world. They married in a simple ceremony, surrounded by friends and allies who had become like family. Their love story became a legend, a beacon of hope for future generations. And so, in the midst of chaos and destruction, Yarrick and Lyra found not only love but also a reason to keep fighting. For each other, for their people, and for a brighter future.